Hello, everybody. My name is Marco Zavala. I'm here with Brittany Rodriguez, who is a graphic designer for a marketing agency in Bloomington, Minnesota. Glad to have you on the podcast, and what we're going to be talking about actually has to do with graphic design. So within the last couple of years, artificial intelligence has been making a brief uprising within social media, licensed usage, and even in professional artwork. There are a couple of companies that have created their own free-to-use AI art websites. If you don't know what it is, it's basically websites that let the guests create any type of image they want with a descriptive enough prompt. And so, with this narrative, many people have used this for their own creative ideas, but this poses a very controversial topic, as this AI software takes media it finds on the internet and uses it to create most of the creations it kicks back to the user. A very popular website most used today is called Midjourney, which uses the same layout for users to create drawings and quote-unquote their own artwork with artificial intelligence. There's been controversy in the recent past of people using it to recreate certain artists' type of art style, and people argue whether this is okay or not. If a machine or let alone free-to-use website can create art just as proficiently as a person with a bachelor's degree in graphic design, how does this affect the workforce? Does this create opportunities for businesses and its social media marketing, or a threat for graphic designers worldwide? We will be discussing all of this with the help of an article written by Tom Carter from Insider. And yeah, so we're going to jump right into this. Welcome, Brittany. Glad to have you here on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Nice to be on here. It's great chatting with you, Marco.
Awesome. Good to have you here. Could you, real quick, just give a brief rundown of your job as a graphic designer?
Yeah, so I am a graphic designer for a consultant company in Bloomington, Minnesota called Magid, and we're more of a research consultant company, and I mainly work within the entertainment industry with Village Roadshow. They're my main client. They do pitches for different TV shows to get into different networks like Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, stuff like that. But my main job is to kind of work with them and help them create pitch decks or any graphic images for them for their pitches.
All right. Awesome. That all sounds like really great stuff. Would you say you really enjoy your job and sort of the artistic aspect of it?
I do. It helps to have a client that's really, nice and cooperative in the process. But they are really, they let me explore different things. They kind of go along with what I would like to do for any of their projects. So it's really nice to have that positive mindset behind my work.
Awesome. Would you say that your job takes a lot of creativity?
I do, yeah. Through every part of the design process, yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, so, and you've read the article by Tom Carter from Insider, right? About AI, artificial intelligence, and the usage of it for creating art. Nice.
Yeah.
What are your personal opinions on AI art so far? What do you think about it altogether?
Altogether, at first, I was kind of a bit skeptical about it. It seemed a really cool thing that was being added into the world. And at first, it was with ChatGPT, with content writing. Yeah. That was a huge thing. That first kind of surfaced. I remember when that came out and people were like, are writers, going to be pushed out of their jobs as well? That was a big concern too. And now it's with image making, with Midjourney, like you mentioned before. There's a lot of different companies right now that are kind of pushing the boundaries with AI and generative AI in general, which is cool and fun, but also, and it's exciting, but also kind of scary. You're not sure if people are going to be taking the art field seriously, and sometimes it feels like there are boundaries being pushed that haven't been before. So it's definitely kind of nerve-wracking, but also exciting at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think I totally agree with how it's been getting some traction and I guess being used in different ways and stuff like that. And I think there's definitely a fine line between like professional artwork and then within like, you know, how serious are people going to take it if people are using AI art for, you know, in certain professional settings. And so I guess that leads into our first question, which I would like to ask you is, do you believe AI art is productive in a corporate or business setting?
The short answer, yes, I do think it is.
Okay.
I think it helps in a lot of ways, in terms of ideating and creating something new. I think it leaves a lot of power to the person that's creating to kind of come up with these concepts, because, you know, a computer is generating these ideas, and in terms of like, if we're going back to like ChatGPT, they're coming up with these ideas themselves. It's passed along through human knowledge, and then it's being inputted into a computer.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not going to be perfect, you know, the first time. But when you kind of go through the passes of it, it's kind of like a computer and a human working hand in hand trying to get the right product out, which is kind of weird thinking about it. But it's kind of also interesting when you think about it a bit more, because then you're just, your coworker is now this computer that's going hand in hand with you, kind of going through it. So I think it is productive in that sense, where it's kind of helping you minimize the time of what you're spending on certain tasks. And if you're coming up with a campaign to begin with, you know, you have all these ideas already, but it would help a lot better if you can kind of have these ideas organized. And sometimes these tools can kind of help do that.
Yeah.
You put in the prompt, organizes it for you. And in terms of like that campaign, it can also help you set goals that you can expect throughout the process.
Okay.
So you can kind of hit the mark every time.
Yeah. So you think it's productive, and do you see yourself ever using AI art for shortcuts in your work?
Yeah, I do. I actually do right now.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I do. So I feel like AI has been ingrained. We're talking about AI a little bit after it's been kind of integrated into the primary, you know, software that designers use. So like, you know, Adobe.
Yeah.
Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. You know, Adobe has taken AI and kind of just thrusted it forward and put it into all the software. And their kind of AI, generative AI, is like within Firefly. So that's in Illustrator. You know, there's a way that you can set up a prompt that can mimic an illustration style. Say like if you want a set of icons in a mid-century modern style. You can type that in and it'll input it out, but it's not going to always be, you know, precise.
Okay.
So there's kind of a bit of back and forth that you have to do in that sense too. But for me, like I use a lot of it in Photoshop. So I'll go in and I love the generative fill AI generator that's going on in there.
Okay.
So it's out right now currently. So I use it when I need to touch up photos, need to like get rid of backgrounds, make things into a PNG, get rid of the background, PNG it. Or if I just need to change a shirt on someone, I'll, you know, like I'll select the person's shirt, and then I'll type in like, I need this shirt to be pink, and it'll totally change it. And you can kind of go through the prompts of like what other options they can give, which is really nice.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know that was already a thing within like some graphic.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised. I didn't really know that was used a lot. But that's cool.
No, it's in there. It's helped minimize, you know, the time that I've spent editing images. You know, like it's definitely cut it by half. So it's really useful.
Okay, nice, interesting. Would you say that's like similar to what AI art is used like now? Because there's people that like use it to create like, you know, maybe a whole project. Would you say that's in that context that's similar, or you're just using it for like really little minimal like, edits?
Oh yeah, it's totally different. It's more minimal edits. Okay. The way that some other people are using it, like Midjourney, that one is definitely, it's taking people's artwork styles and putting it out into the, you know, the web, and it's copying, it's plagiarism basically.
Okay.
that's like a totally different thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Do you think like the company Midjourney ever has a place in like a corporate setting?
I think not right now, at least.
Okay.
Feel like it's like a fun thing. I remember when it first came out and people were playing around with it, and I feel like it is just in the stage of like playing around with it, because it never gets past the point of just playing with the tool. You know?
It's
they're
just
kind of in there to kind of they're just in there to kind of see what they can produce, and it hasn't really reached the point of, oh, we can put this in a pitch, or we can put this artwork on a billboard, you know, like, because there's going to be some fine tuning that you're going to have to do afterwards. Like, it's not always going to be straight from Midjourney, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think in most ways it is definitely plagiarism, the way it takes people's art styles and kind of uses that as like a reference, and almost sometimes it's like the exact same thing almost, or very close. So yeah. Yeah, so with that, I mean, you mentioned that, you know, AI has a part in your job with the, you know, Adobe, but that's very minimal compared to, you know, major companies like Midjourney. So that's different, but like, how do you feel about AI, and how do you feel about it taking like graphic design jobs in the future, in the case that it becomes developed enough where it can?
I don't know. That's hard to imagine when it's not happening right now.
Yeah.
I mean, personally for me, I feel like if it does happen, I feel like technology has come to a point where like there's so many other options that could be explored for different jobs that like people will like the job title will be different in the future. Like, it won't just be graphic designer. It could be like, it could be something else. I don't know what the name would be, but it would be someone assisting the generative AI tool and learning to coincide with the generative AI tool to like help it. That could be another job.
Yeah, or like you said, with like, if you take like something from Midjourney, then someone's gonna have to refine it or tune it up to make it like
the job's
perfect.
A little bit.
So
like that's how I can envision it being, you know, in the future. Like if it really takes off and people start to use different softwares instead of people to create their designs, I feel like there's gonna be someone that's on the other end, you know, like building the software that's gonna be, you know, trying to input these styles for the software to like mimic, you know. So there's gonna be something on the other end. Maybe not, I don't know. It's the future.
That is true. Yeah. Do you think that in the future your job could be taken potentially by AI art? Like, let's say your business or company is able to use AI art like even more proficiently than its graphic designers, and create things for their company like by themselves without having to have graphic designers. You know, that would cut, you know, they wouldn't have to worry about paying any more employees or stuff like that, and some companies are willing to take that action. If that means
that's true.
If that means they don't have to pay, you know, someone to do the art for them. So do you think that could ever be a possibility with your job in the future?
I think so. Definitely in what I do, I feel like I could already see it happening.
Really?
But like I said, like it doesn't, I feel like it's also, it doesn't, like the stepping stones to get to that part isn't as clear. You know, like I definitely could see parts of that being present, but it's not, we don't know how to get there. Like people are so busy that they're not taking the time to like get there. And you know, if they do want to implement someone to take my job and do that, go ahead, I guess. I don't know, but I think that like there's just so many other steps that need to be taken that it might not get there. but who knows?
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
that makes a lot of sense. I think many companies right now are focused on too many things, and they're just more on. It's easier to just stick with what they have now, and if it's good enough, they might as well keep it, rather than try to implement something that's in such an early development. So
yeah,
that makes
and a lot of
sense.
people are still learning the new tech too. So it's a lot of learning, and like there's going to be someone out there that's going to be pushing for that, and they want to, they're going to be the ones researching it and presenting it in front of the board to like, hey, we want to do this. It will cost a lot less if we cut out our whole design team, marketing team, and we just implement this software. But also that kind of cuts away. A lot of companies also need to think about whether or not they would want to risk not having that human touch to their company, because it's, everything's going to be filtered through a software, and you lose that humanistic value to your business and your company. So like, is that something you want to risk? That's a big thing to think about for companies too.
Yeah, that is true. So you don't think it could happen anytime soon?
Not anytime soon. At least I hope not. I hope my job is still secure,
right. Hopefully keep your job. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome. This last question here. In what ways do you think that AI art affects advertising in the near future?
Negatively, like we said, plagiarism, stint in creativity for everyone, or for people that are working on their projects. They could be overlapping in ideas that have already been, out there. Let me think. Positively, I think it could help. Also, it could also help on the other end of the glass. Like it could also help you free up time to come up with different ideas. I think AI kind of helps minimize the build of things in the process of designing. It kind of shortens that time and leaves people to kind of go out there and be more creative in figuring out the problems, and have that more time to kind of think about what they're designing, instead of just hitting the gun, running, and trying to get it built when they don't have a clear design out, because their timeline is so short,
Yeah, and I think they talked about that in the article too, where people would use like AI art as like a reference, and that would help them brainstorm what they want to create, and so it can be productive in that way for sure. But yeah, and I mean, do you think it could be used within like social media marketing for companies? Like, do you think it could build brand awareness if they use AI art a certain way?
I think so. I mean, there's got to be clever ways to do it, though.
Yeah.
They can't just be, like putting things in and spinning it out and throwing it up there as soon as they get it. I think if it's done in a way that makes sense for the company, for the brand, I think it could work. Some places are already doing it already. Some companies are already doing it right now. And some are still experimenting with it. I feel like in the future, we're going to see a lot more AI than what we think. And there's already so much out there. There's already so many companies integrating AI into their either their software or how they like run their company. Or in how it looks. Like I know I use a bunch of tools right now that have AI in it, that help me on the day-to-day basis. And now it's kind of become this thing where it's like the cell phone, like you couldn't imagine a life without it. I think in the future, we're probably going to be like, oh, I could never imagine my life without ChatGPT or Midjourney or Firefly or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to come to the point.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take. But yeah, I think that definitely could be something within our future. Yeah, I can't see my life without ChatGPT. I just think that's funny. Yeah.
Can't see life without AI. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that could be very realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think AI art has its own place right now, pretty firm within social media. I think I see it on TikTok and Instagram a lot.
Right.
But like you said, it has that kind of that presentation or persona of it being experimentative and just for entertainment purposes for now. I think in some businesses, especially smaller businesses, they're actually being used. People use AI art to, I guess, just better make their company more appealing to people. But that's just for really smaller businesses. I think in terms of a big corporate business, it's probably best to not use it by themselves, you know?
It has to make sense for the brand. Like,
yeah, it does.
If they were doing it within social media, you know, they're doing a campaign on TikTok or something like that, and it involves like an AI filter for whatever, you know, it has to make sense on what they're using it for.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, at the end of it, I think is that, you know, AI is a part of the process right now and kind of moving forward. I believe it does help, you know, be productive in corporate settings and in marketing. It has helped my company. It helps me as a graphic designer. But I do see that there are some downsides to it. It is like really conflicting when there's plagiarism involved and when people's artworks are being taken from and used to feed an AI system. I think that can be very harmful for, you know, people that are illustrators and animators and designers. You know, they're putting a lot of their hours of work into something, and to have a software kind of input that and just mimic it in 2 seconds is scary, and it can be, you know, dangerous to use that side of AI into the whole landscape of marketing. I think that can be very scary, and that's where a lot of the uncertainty of will AI, you know, take my job come from. I think that's kind of the big concern. But with some bad, there's always some good, and so I feel like there are ways to use it that help you, but there are also ways that can hinder someone's job as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for for giving me your time and being on this podcast. You had very good insights, so I mean, honestly, I totally agree with a lot of them. I think.
Oh, thanks.
Yep. But yeah, overall, thank you for spending this time, and hope you have a good rest of your night.
Thanks, Marco. Thanks for having me. Have a good night.